Now we're going to go through examples of popular Matu, but before we get to them, I want to show you two of the most common codes we use. The first being Morse code. We use Morse code throughout the year during Sinhwa or whenever we're lining up, but Morse code could also be used as a way to pass on code, whether it's in the form or sometimes it's in quarter note to whole note form. We also have semaphore. Semaphore is done using flags and creating angles which represent letters of the alphabet. We can also portray that on paper. Now, we're going to go to what I think is the most simple Matu to solve, which is the letter cipher. I have the key here, and I'm also going to show the cryptogram. The key says A equals N, R equals E, Z equals M. Using my own intuition, I'm going to give you a hint. N also equals A, E equals R, and M equals Z. Looking at the cryptogram here, none of the words make sense because it's coded and I have to create my own alphabet. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Go ahead and pause the video now before I pull up the answer. Okay, hopefully you figured out the answer. The answer is better practice decoding. Now, the way I get that is I have to make my own alphabet. I have to make my alphabet from A to Z, so I'm going to write that out on my paper. I'm going to match up the key, so I'm going to put right next to A, N. I'm going to put next to R, E, and right next to Z, M. Then I have to fill in the rest of the blanks, and I have to figure out what B is, what C is, all the way to X, Y, Z. After figuring that all out, I have to figure out which letters match up to my key in this code, and all I have to do is exchange the letters. So in our case, B would have equaled O, and then O would have equaled B, and then E would have equaled R. So moving along, a little bit more complicated version of that is letter to number cipher. Here I have a key for you. A equals 2, M equals 14, and S equals 20. Now, I gave you the hint before, just use the same hint. You got to make your own alphabet. I'm going to show you the code now. Go ahead and pause the video now before I pull up the answer. Alright, and the answer is Hanchinlukden will be hard this year. And the way you figure that out, like I said before, set up your alphabet A through Z, match up the numbers. You'll notice that I only shifted the letter to number significance over 1. If A equaled 1, now A equals 2, which means B equals 3. As long as you kept that in mind, you would have swapped the letter out for the letter that it now represents, and you would get your answer. One of my favorite Matu that I've ever made before is the word puzzles. So here's your key. I climbed up the right side of the mountain, but kept falling down and climbed up to the end. And here I have a graph for you with a bunch of different letters. Use what knowledge you have on what spaces could signify and try to figure out the answer. Pause the video now before I pull up the answer. And the answer to the problem is be prepared for anything because I am random. So the way I do is I use this key right here. I climbed up the right side of the mountain, so I want you to use the right side of the code first. I said I climbed up, so I'll start here from the bottom and I'll move up. So moving up, B, E, so that's my first word. F represents my space in this instant. I do use F again, but in a different way. So after F I have P, R, and then I say, but I kept falling down. So I'm gonna go down this way. So it's gonna be P, R, E, P, A, R, E, and then I'm gonna climb up again. So falling down and climbing up to the end. So I'm gonna take the snake pattern almost. Up, down, up, down, up, down, all the way to the end right here. So my answer being be prepared for anything because I am random. So what about Matu without a key? I did mention this before, but they are actually a lot more common than we think. For example, we have jigsaw puzzles, simply just puzzles that you have to put together. Sometimes it's just a picture. We have Morse code and semaphore. Sometimes they don't require a key. Sometimes they just require your intuition. When you look at it, you think to yourself, oh, that kind of looks like Morse code, or oh, those angles on the clock look like semaphore. And we also have rebus puzzles. Rebus puzzles are puzzles where there are pictures and we subtract a letter or some significance from them, and you combine all the letters together to make a word. So it's entirely up to your team's collective knowledge and intuition to solve these type of puzzles together, because sometimes they are difficult without everybody. So I got one last thing for you. I want to go over the general rules of the Hanchindik. You can fast forward to the end to read them all, but I do have a small explanation for each thing. The first thing is that Hanchindik should not be treated as a race. Everybody's going to be moving at their own pace, and it's not about when you arrive, but rather how you do what you do. And you're going to be a lot more happier with your experiences rather than your speed. Second thing is that your teams cannot form alliances and work together to solve puzzles. The thing is, if somebody's moving at a slow pace, you're going to be moving at the same pace as them, but you want to be working together with your team, and that's the main focus. The third thing is that you have to monitor your teammates and make sure nobody gets left behind. Don't be walking ahead of your teammates, don't be leaving them behind, and make sure that they're well behaved as well, staying happy. On the note that you're cooking for yourselves throughout the journey, you also have to schedule when you want lunch and dinner, and you cannot skip meals. You guys have to get through all your meals in the day. Formal salutations is not necessary during the journey, so you will not saw hang and you will not chow whoever's at the station. Besides cooking for yourselves, you also have to remember to stay hydrated. The journey is very hot and very long. Make sure you're keeping hydrated because that's the best way to survive. Number 7, hold on to all of your matu. They're like passport for each location. It allows you to keep track of where you've been, as well as Team Hanchindik, allowing us to see where you've been as well. Number 8, maintain appropriate behavior and keep cool heads. Don't get into arguments with each other. You guys are working as a team, and if there are any big problems, you know who to come to. Number 9, don't ask the angels for answers. They will push you forward when it's necessary. You know, this is all about you and your team, and you guys will solve this yourself. Number 10, final thing, stick to the roleplay, but act with respect, because at the end of the day, the actors are still Huncheung, and you guys are still Samak-sin. So, study up, good luck, make sure you go over all the material in the pre-camp, and hopefully you guys will be prepared and ready to go. Bye.